Okay, what I am going to present is something that we are going to present at the SOMAT, at the Congress. There's a chapter in this Congress that is called Bravery in Market Research. We have been conducting a study for the military forces in Colombia for 2 years. We go to red zones to conduct the interviews, so that's what I'm going to tell. It's like the case study of what we have done for the military forces.
Sorry, there is one more thing I have to do before you start. Sorry.
Better go get a camera fast.
Yeah.
You need your like shadow puppet, maybe.
Maybe I can sing or something.
Or a bunny rabbit.
There you go. Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Colombia is a South American country with 46 million citizens. It is the fourth nation in biodiversity and it ranks first in amphibians and birds biodiversity. Colombia is also noted for its ethnic diversity and its cultural and artistic riches. Famous for its excellent coffee, the purity of its emeralds, and the happiness of its people, according to the Happy Planner Index that places it as the second happiest nation in the world. In spite of being one of the top economies in South America and of its vast natural and human reaches, during the past 50 years, Colombia has been immersed in an armed conflict produced by the presence of illegal armed forces, especially in rural areas. The country has earned the dishonor of being included in the top 15 most violent nations in the world, according to the Global Peace Index 2011 and calculated by Vision of Humanity. The main parties to this conflict are the Colombian military forces and the FARC guerrilla. The Colombian Army, Air Force, and Navy have used frontal attacks and military intelligence against illegal armed groups, with results measured not only through operational terms, but also through the population's perception in terms of security, protection, and optimism. It is at this point, when investigating citizens' perceptions regarding the conflict and its players, where Jan has accepted the challenge to investigate such delicate issues in places that hold important challenges in terms of security and infrastructure. During the years 2010-2011, we developed a security perception survey for the Colombian military forces, which had the objective of exploring the population's awareness and perception regarding the work undertaken by this institution in the country. How can we conduct social research in places that lack infrastructure and safety? How do we face unexpected situations? Today we share with you market research challenges in emerging economies.
Don't look at me.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we did to overcome all those difficulties that we faced. First of all, this is the characteristics of the study. We went to approximately 70 different municipalities in Colombia. All of those zones are red zones where guerrillas are present. And we had 40 interviewers working in the field work. Here are the
In the beginning or
Yeah.
in the end?
field work, Florian. These are the methodological and technical characteristics of the study. Maybe important to say, the first time we conducted 4 waves. We had something like 4 months for conducting the field work. We went every month, or we were supposed to go every month to the 70 municipalities to ask the people's perception about the work the military forces are doing in the region. And in 2011, we conducted only 2 waves. You will see why this changed along the presentation.
From December 2010 to December 2011. Planadas, South Tolima, place where the FARC was founded in 1964. The work team receives pressure from an unidentified individual, thus limiting the work schedule from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Chaparral, South Tolima. Presence of the 21st Front of the FARC. The surveyors were followed by the same individual and 2 more men who listened in to their phone calls. 3 over 5 surveyors abandoned and returned to their cities of residence. Rio Blanco, South Tolima, with presence of the 21st FARC Front. In this municipality, surveyors were held for 18 hours inside a house in town. They are interrogated and labeled as informants. The kidnappers kept 4 poles, endangering the people surveyed, since these poles contained not only contact information, name, phone number, and address, but also their answers about the armed groups on subjects such as favorability, perception, and opinions. Neiva, capital of the Department of Huila. Bogotá, Colombian capital. Yanjas Operations Center. Phone threats to stop the research are received in the 2 cities. San Vicente del Caguán, Caquetá. Presence of the FARC's Teófilo Forero Castro Battalion and of the narco-paramilitary group Las Águilas Negras. Area cleared for peace dialogues in 1998. Abolished in 2002. 215 hectares of illicit crops. Surveyors were persecuted, intercepted, and interrogated by a member of the FARC. Guapi, Cauca. Presence of the National Freedom Army ELN guerrilla. 1,022 hectares of illicit crops. Caucasia, Antioquia. Presence of the narco-paramilitary groups Los Rastrojos, Las Águilas Negras, Los Urabeños, Los Paisas, and Oficina de Envigado. In both municipalities, the police set boundaries on the areas that can be surveyed as to preserve the safety of the surveyors.
So the video just to illustrate the kind of situations that we faced, and that it really was pretty dangerous to go there. So now I'm going to explain a little bit about the kind of rules that we established and the kind of measurements or measures we took for being able to go to those places and for conducting the field work. Anytime the interviewers perceived any environmental abnormalities or latent threats, they were supposed to go away. I mean, they were not supposed to just to follow their sense of survival. They were not supposed to have to meet any risk further than the one they were already facing. That was one first thing. Then we had problems completing in some municipalities. We had problems completing the polls. So many times we substituted the municipality where we're supposed to be doing the interviews and change it in accordance with the military forces. Other times we conducted the service via phone instead of being there or going to that municipality. Another very important point was to have the customer confidentiality. The name of the customer wasn't said. It was said that it was done by Janhas, by its own interest. No one could know that the military forces were the ones who were asking for the perception of their security and of their actions. There were many logistic communications items agreed with the military forces. The interviewers were able to call to a line, to a toll-free line, anytime they had any problem, and they were said what they should do in case of having any risk or facing any risk. Anytime they came to a new municipality, they had to go to the police station in the municipality and say that they were the interviewers. Many times they were accompanied by the police to the houses or to the most apart areas of the municipality to conduct the interviews. On the other hand, in terms of methodology, there were many changes that were adopted during the conduction of the research. This is one of the first ones. And in terms of the sampling methodology we usually use, it was supposed to be a multi-stage sampling, but when we arrived to the municipality, what we found in terms of security, there was a point, and is that the interviewers were not supposed to be alone. It wasn't very secure. They felt also very insecure when they were alone. So the recommendation was to keep in groups, to keep more than one interviewer together. And on the other hand, the municipalities were many times too small. So what we did is we covered the municipality from all points, from different points of the town, and then we went. All the interviewers went from each point, covering the whole place in groups, and that was a change we had to implement when being there, when already having begun the study. As I told you at the beginning, we were supposed in the first year in 2010 to conduct four waves of the study. We were supposed to go every month to the 70 municipalities, but then we found it was too frequent for the population also to see us there every month. So what we did, we ended up going every 2 months to the municipalities. We made two groups. We divided the municipalities in two groups, and we went in the first and third wave to the first group, and in the second and fourth wave to the other group of municipalities. Another problem we face is the cultural level of the target group. They really are very basic persons, and in many ways, we sometimes made some complicated questions. One of that question is, when screening, we try to avoid interviews with family members in the military, of course, because they're biased. So we usually asked about the inbreeding they have with military forces members. So we end up asking simply, is your father or your mother or your son working in the military forces? This is just a very simple example, but we really had to check the questionnaires many times for being sure that we were asking things in a very simple and understandable way.